Um, and then that's a great thing. But it's like, okay, now how do we encourage more veterans to say, let's tell a story. I've had a lot of folks say, well, I can't make it on a Friday because I'm working. So maybe that's why I'm thinking maybe we do um, a combination. Maybe we do allow people to meet with me and you, or just me or whoever, and tell their story, and we record it. And it's because we have that as a podcast that stands separate for folks to listen to, but we can incorporate some of that um, here when we don't have somebody that's uh, stepped up to tell their story live on a Friday, you know. So just some thoughts that are going around my head, and I throw it out there and ask for everybody else's thinking.
Well, I love what you're saying, Dennis, because I always talk about thinking outside of the box.
Hmm.
If you're not communicating, it's not going to get done. So,
Right.
first step is communicate, figure out what we need to do, what's the purpose of what we're trying to do, and expand on it.
Right. I agree. I agree. Well,
Right.
welcome
Let's
everybody here. I've just been pontificating here. We're a few minutes, 4 minutes into our scheduled meeting, and we do not have a featured speaker today. We have one coming up next week, uh, and um, so we have an opportunity, I think, to have an open conversation here, and love to hear, especially from folks for whom this may be the first time you're joining us, to hear a little bit about yourself, who you are, if you've had military service, what that briefly entailed, and then we'll kind of go from there. Um, John, I think you're the first one that I hadn't heard from before. I don't know if Kristen, if I you look familiar, Kristen, but I okay, all right,
I was probably on a phone call driving last time.
yeah,
I'm not driving today.
okay. Tell us a little briefly, if you would, about yourself and your connection to the military and
Beautiful. So, yeah, I won't take more than a minute. Yeah, I'm not military. My dad was a colonel,
mhm.
doctor up at Fort Richardson, and um, my brother was also in the Army. But the reason I'm here is because Roy and I have been working on the fact that out of all the benefits that the government has for both military and federal employees, they're actually run by private contractors. Whether that's the best thing for them or not remains to be seen. So um, I'm working with Military Benefit Association, which is truly when you get into nonprofits, you've got nonprofits with military names that are sole goal is to make money for somebody else, and then you've got benevolent organizations that are actually there for the people that they say they are, which is
Right.
something new to me, but I'm sure it's familiar with you guys. So MBA, Military Benefit Association, nonprofit, almost 70 years. They work with both MetLife, which is a contractor, and GPM, which is Government Personnel Mutual. Even though they're not principally an insurance company, MBA likes GPM because we were the first company in 1937. A colonel found out that military personnel in active duty couldn't receive life insurance benefits. So we were the first company organized as a mutual for servicemen only. And so when he passed away in 41, his wife took over. It's a small company. She was the first CEO of a large insurance company in the country. She actually had to sign her name with initials because back then nobody believed that a woman could sign something like that. Um, it's out of even though we can do families outside of federal and military. Our goal has been military, and the reason I'm involved is we have lots of benefits. It's free of charge to help both legislative issues, but our biggest goal is to make sure that they can compare the contracted insurance companies with what they're already getting, which you might be surprised are companies that you don't know about. So back in 1999, they felt like there were a lot of companies taking advantage of military personnel in the barracks. So they created this requirements that GPM still follows, NBA still follows, where you get advisors, sergeants, everyone to sign off on the fact that this is here for them. And unfortunately, a lot of people took advantage of that. So basically, most military bases just forbid any insurance people to come in. And so what Roy and I are trying to combine our skills at, a 20 to 40-year-old now isn't going into an insurance agent for anybody. They're all on the internet. And so we're trying to navigate that way that we can still follow the procedures of the federal government and be able to use Zoom and the internet, because that's where these folks are getting their stuff. And they're probably getting ripped off worse than they did back in the 90s when they wrote that directive. So any help on that, let me know. John Pleasance, thank you.
Hey, John, are you out of the San Francisco Bay Area?
We have partners in California. I'm in North Carolina, about 70 miles north of Fort Liberty.
Okay, do me a big favor because I'm not finding you. Can you connect with me on LinkedIn? You're going to find me under Karen, Caryn.
Does Roy have your stuff?
I'll get you together, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roy's helping my LinkedIn. I'm one of those old-fashioned
I'm the
people.
digital guy that puts the stuff together.
Yeah, I will definitely be in touch with you. And he's that's one of his jobs, is to clean up my LinkedIn stuff.
Oh, great.
Thank you. I will be in touch, Bob.
You got it. Sounds great. Yeah, let's connect one way or another.
Because this is really a needed program, and believe it or not, the government's way behind on the world of digital.
No kidding.
So, John, that was a great introduction to Roy. Roy, can you briefly say hello and add what may be needed to what John said? Tell us where you're located, etc.
Yeah, I'm in North Carolina too, not far from John. And I have a digital marketing agency that's trying to do and will do what John is just talking about. We're going to make this available to people who don't go anywhere but the internet for their information and to sign up for services and things. So why this is so important, this nonprofit Military Benefits Association, their sole purpose is to help veterans get protected and receive all the benefits they deserve. And they've been around since 1956. And the one thing that they're really strong on right now, besides the things John was talking about, there are $450 million worth of benefits that are unclaimed out there. And their goal is to get at least 40% of those paid out. So besides the other things that are there, that's another thing. They do lobbying and everything else. There's a whole lot to this. Also, to be a member, there is no charge. And that's when all kinds of benefits open to you. And General Sumner, we really need to talk with you because there's a lot of things that have never been done before that we would like to make happen. And we really need somebody who understands what it's like on the other side.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Roy. Let's hear from Kristen.
Hi, I don't know if I was supposed to be the guest speaker today or not. I can if you want me to.
Awesome.
So if you want me to do the full spiel, I can. My story can be somewhat lengthy, so you have to tell me a time frame so I don't talk too much.
We typically give 30 to 40 minutes. I do want to get a brief introduction of everybody else who's on here. You are a lifesaver. I thank you. God bless you. Yes, let's do that. So we'll move on to others so that we can get to you here in short order. Okay, Barbara, can you give us a brief introduction, please?
Yes, I work with John and Roy, even though neither of them mentioned me. That's okay. I know how they are. They forget about me sometimes. But I work with John and Roy. I have a son that just got out of the military in January. He served 6.5 years. He's currently in Florida. I also had an ex-husband. He's passed now, but he was in the military. And my father and my grandfather were all in the military. So I come, even though I wasn't in the military, I have those roots. And great respect for anybody that serves in the military because it's not just the service for that military person, but for the whole family. Yeah, it's a sacrifice, believe me. I hated it when my son was in Japan. I'm in North Carolina as well. And it's hard. Thank goodness for video chat. But
Yes.
just wanted to say I am a member of the Military Benefits Association. And one of the perks just recently, I went down to visit my son over Thanksgiving week, and I actually booked a hotel room through the Military Benefits site and was able to get a better discount than I could get anywhere else. So it does have a lot of extra perks that is great for anybody military or military family related. And I have an appreciation for that because I don't feel our military is uh, given enough benefits for what they do and the service that they provide for keeping our freedom. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you, Barbara. Tony, let's hear from you, please. Tony Powers.
Can you hear me now?
It's kind of soft.
I put my headset on. Hang on. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon, all, depending on where you sit. Tony Powers, LinkedIn has me as Anthony, retired Army, 24 years, started Navy, where we killed all the targets and then got out of the Navy and joined the Army Guard as an AGR and became a target a couple of times in Ramadi, Iraq, and Taji. We were shot at quite frequently, as some of you gentlemen and ladies know. Uh, First time here, Dennis has been chasing me hard, and I've been trying to avoid him, but I finally took the bait and jumped on. It's the truth. He said, "You got to join." He's very consistent, and so I'm here. I don't know what I'm here for. I've got out of the
Appreciate
Army.
We appreciate you being here. Appreciate your service. I was AGR for 10 years, so I know that life.
That's gravy.
We're just here to connect with others, and we're going to hear from Kristen about her story, and maybe we'll encourage you to be a featured speaker in a future meeting and tell yours to us. So appreciate that.
Okay.
Dr. Raymond Pettit.
How are you guys doing? I'm former graduate of Liberty University, just completed my doctorate in resiliency. I work with post-traumatic stress. I was a chaplain for 8 years. I've been in the military, but I've been a chaplain since 1997 for the state Colorado Patrol and fire departments, also disaster response, hospice. I tell people I've been there and done that for a lot of different places. I came back in the military in 2008, only to be transferred to Afghanistan for a year. And yeah, just like Tony, I got blew up several times, but here I am. But I completed my doctorate now I counsel with military members and family members who struggle with PTSD. And my job is basically just to be available. I wrote a book on moving from PTSD to PTG. It's a real simple book. People have asked me about it, and I tell them I was like, I wrote it in a non-doctoral visual, but I do this because I've seen a lot of my military members have requested information on how do I overcome, and I just laugh and say, well, you don't necessarily overcome. You just move over until you become. And they laugh at me, but I say a lot of fun things. I like to use humor in my presentation just simply because I am who I am. And as a pastor and a chaplain, I've been doing this for a long time, and I like to do my best to help people out in the midst of their struggles.
Super. Well, thank you for being here. And again, like I was telling Tony, appreciate your service and your being here with us, and encourage you to consider being a featured speaker to talk about that service that you gave here in more depth and detail. Thank you so much, Winston.
I'd be honored to do that. And I'll tell you, I forgot to tell you, I was Air Force in the 80s for the first Gulf War. So
Winston, briefly, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Winston, retired Army after 23 years. 3 deployments. I survived. Came close to, but I survived. And I changed my profession to a financial coach because people are experiencing so much challenge today with their finances, and people are also looking to earn some extra part-time income. So what I specialize in is helping individuals to earn passive income, help them to properly protect their income, eliminate debt, and accumulate enough income or money so that they can actually retire in dignity.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Winston. And everybody, please, sometime during this hour, put your contact information in the chat so that we can connect after this. Moshe, can you give a brief introduction, please? You're muted still.
I hit the audio, it didn't respond. Anyway, my name is Moshe Math. I'm a partner in a company called Neuroengineering Sciences. Our system looks similar to massage chairs at the airport, but we use what they call sonic massage, sound, light, and vibration to take your mind and body through a voyage. We have various sound sessions. I have had experience with veterans with PTSD and other issues as well. And I'm hoping that we can do some research as it relates to PTSD as well as PT and OT. Even though others have that as well, I think the Veterans Hospital, because of the number of people who need it, are an ideal place to do the research to see its effectiveness. Thank you all for your time.
Excellent. Thank you. And Dr. Gordon Sumner.
Hi, everybody. Retired Army as well. Quite a career between that and the federal government and serving for a couple of administrations. And from my company business, I work with nonprofits to help them achieve their mission, their goals, helping those who they're out to support in a more efficient, effective, and relevant manner. So my information's in the chat.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Kristen, we are now have the floor. Thank you so much for stepping up here. My first question though would be, do you have pictures or anything you want to share? All right. Can we make that happen so she can share that?
I might be able to share. Let me see here. Oh, I can.
Well, I think Mehedi has to give you. There we go. Excellent. Thank you so much.
I'm a little tech savvy only because, unfortunately, my bachelor's degree was completely 100% online while I was active duty. And then I'm in a master's program right now that's completely 100 online. Let me see here. I just started getting this together. So I started out, here we go. This is a great one. Can you see that okay? Let's see here.
Starting to,
or is it too big?
See the thumbnail.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Can you see the screen?
Much better.
Yes.
Okay. So I started out as a very young college student. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida. I'm Kristen Barton again. I joined the Navy back in 2011. It doesn't seem that long ago, but we're getting older. And so this is me right out of Navy boot camp up in Chicago, since there's only Chicago boot camp now for Navy. This was when I went to MOS school, so I became a hospital corpsman. This is me in San Antonio. So the hospital corpsman training used to be in Chicago. So
I can only see the screen that has thumbnails on it. So we're not seeing individual
the photos at all. Oh,
and we see the thumbnails of the photos, but not anything larger.
Oh, let me can I just do screen share and then here we go. What about now? Can you see my screen?
There we
There
go.
we go.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Technology is awful. Okay, let's try this again. Here we go, because I had a good roll there.
There we
Okay,
go.
so there's the lovely BCG glasses, our favorite. Or at least what we'd say in the Navy. Here's my sister, my dad, and my grandmother. This is my husband and I. And my dog's probably gonna bark now, so I apologize. My husband and I met, we were both active duty. This is when I was at Corps school. So my husband's the old corpsman school. They used to have MOS school up in Chicago right next to boot camp. They tore that whole facility down. It no longer exists. And all medical corpsmen for the Navy are now in San Antonio. So I was one of the first couple graduating classes for MOS school out of San Antonio. I left from Florida to Chicago, then went from Chicago to San Antonio, and then within like a day or two, they're like, "Okay, you're going to Okinawa, Japan." So I left very quickly. This is when I started getting in the nitty gritties, but Okinawa is probably one of the best duty stations we ever had. We got to do quite a bit. So I started out, like I said, as a corpsman, no specialty MOS. I got to Japan. They were short staffs in Okinawa. And they're like, "We're going to make you a pharmacy tech." And I said, "Well, I didn't get any training for that." They're like, "You're okay. That's fine. You're fine. We'll teach you." So I just kind of figured it out and became a pharmacy tech, got certified. We were met in Okinawa, my husband and I. So my husband is I was a blue side corpsman, so I went from hospital to hospital my entire 5 years, and then I got out. But my husband has been in the military, and he will be medically retiring soon at 15 years, hopefully next month. So it's been a very long journey of I was in for 5 years, and this is me as a civilian at Camp Pendleton Naval Hospital. So long story short, after 5 years of service, hospital to hospital, my husband stayed in. His orders always took precedence because he was a surgical tech. So, of course, his orders were more important. Because of that, my husband was deployed quite a bit. This was right before I left Japan, got my first Navy Achievement Medal. Let's see here. And then this is when I was at Camp Lejeune. So afterwards, that's Oki. Let me see if I can. There, that's still Oki. That's my grandfather. He was Navy as well. But I was the first one. Really, I'm trying to see if I can find some more updated photos. Let me go back a page of my husband and I. I'll just find one more most recent. Let's see here. But long story short, let's see here. Let's see if I can find a most recent one. Let me go to my husband's photos. Let's see here. Here's a good one. Okay, can you see this okay?
Yes.
Yep.
So this was right when I picked up third class and I exited the military as a third class. My husband went green side once we got to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. He deployed almost the entire time we were there. He was Navy, but he's only been on a ship once in his entire 15 years. He's always been with the Marines. So we don't really consider him a sailor. He's a Marine with
So
some medical training.
for those here and those who may watch this later on who are not familiar with how the Navy and the Marine Corps, especially on the medical side, interact. I mean, I was Medical Service Corps Army, but I know exactly how that works. Can you explain why that was?
Yes. So technically, the Marine Corps is with the Navy in the sense that the Marine Corps doesn't have a medical unit. The Air Force, the Army, all the branches have medical, but Marine Corps doesn't. So since the Marine Corps is a part of the Department of the Navy, technically, we as hospital corpsmen take care of Marines. So I did take care of Marines, and that's why I say blue side, and we had those blue camis. Those are all retired now. All my uniforms are retired because I'm getting older. You will now see Navy and corpsmen we call them guacamoles because it's like a guacamole camo. So that's what they wear now. But you can still find hospital corpsmen in Marine Corps uniforms, and you'll know that they're Navy because it'll say U.S. Navy, their last name, and then they have like their petty officer, or they'll have a black shield with a caduce on it, and that's how you know they're a greenside corpsman. So my husband, as a surge tech, would deploy with the Marines. He's been all over the world. I didn't have to deploy often, but my service was still beneficial for me in the sense that from the time I started the Navy to the time I got out of the Navy, I was pharmacy tech, medical assistant, maternal fetal medicine, OBGYN, um, and then I did work with Marines coverage, range coverages, OC spray coverages. So I did some Marine Corps coverage, but mostly I was working at hospitals with either military spouses, children, or retirees, and internal medicine. I think I forgot that one as well. So I left the military, became a military spouse. That was a very interesting transition. Um, I didn't fit in with the military spouses, but I fit in with the veterans. The personality dynamics is very interesting with women specifically. I don't know why, but it is. I had my son immediately getting out of service. We call him, the post-deployment baby. And he was a preemie baby. He was born at Naval Hospital Camp Lejeune. That whole experience was a PTSD event for me. So even though I didn't have combat PTSD, just becoming a civilian military spouse with a traumatic childbirth, that's a whole nother ball game. And no, I was not screened for PTSD postpartum, which I will go on a TED talk about if I ever could. Continuing on from that, I finished my bachelor's degree in psychology. And then we PCS to Camp Pendleton, California. He worked at the Naval Hospital. I became a GS employee in medical records. Medical records is phasing out for the Navy. There really isn't promotion possibility. So I left medical records to get my master's in public health. So I got my master's in public health in 2020. It was a horrible year to graduate. It was so much fun. Did my master's thesis primary data collection on mental health screenings with college university students at Cal State San Marcos. Sorry, that's a mouthful. But it was my first time doing research, really enjoyed it. Never thought I would enjoy math, but it's not normally my thing, but I actually did enjoy it. We then finally got our last Twilight tour, our last duty orders, because my husband was having disabilities occur. And we are now in San Antonio, Texas, at our final destination, finally. My husband has been in the med board process this year. That has been another learning opportunity for me, as I did not understand that whole system at all. And it has changed since 2016 when I got out. Now, when we moved here, I lost my job. I was working from home when we moved here. So 6 months it took me to find work, and I was very, very, very fortunate and lucky to become a vocational rehabilitation counselor. So now I work for Texas Workforce Commission as a state VR counselor, just like the VR counselors for VA, but it's state. So we're a little bit easier for all individuals with disabilities, regardless of service connection disability, to get a case. I specifically work with veterans, military spouses, and military children. That's my specialty since I've been a vet and military spouse, and I have a child with a disability. So I've kind of that trifecta of a veteran with experiences. So now that's the population I work with and try to help the most I can. I'm currently at University of North Texas for my second master's that I'm working on right now in clinical rehabilitation counseling. once I'm done with my second master's and I'm certified as a rehabilitation counselor, my next goal is to become a licensed professional counselor and get my LPC. So if I want to go private practice, or really just have opportunities, or a military family life counselor, I have to have that LPC, so that I might do that as well. I have quite a bit of opportunities in the future, so I'm really excited to get to that point, but it's going to definitely be another 5 years before I have my license. I really do enjoy talking about PTSD treatment. I think trauma-based counselor is pretty much where I'm heading towards. I have a lot more training and development to do before I can do PTSD treatments myself without going full psychologist or psychiatrist, but I think I will get there. It's been interesting. It's a bittersweet moment right now with my husband separating military retirement. We just found out this week that they awarded him military medical retirement. That's been a blessing in disguise because we weren't sure if he was going to get it. It was a battle. Other than that, that's pretty much the sum of it. I might have forgotten a couple things, but it's been a long 15 years, basically.
I appreciate your stepping up and sharing your story with us, Kristen. My background was a medical service corps officer in the Army, worked alongside a lot of the public health folks, but this was long before COVID struck. And I know you said you got your master's in public health and graduated the year that everything shut down. It just seems to me that public health came to the forefront at that time. What was your experience with that? I mean, coming out with a degree, was for people and organizations interested in
No.
bringing you on?
No, it was a nightmare. So 2020, I did my master's thesis. The moment COVID hit, it was probably April or May, if I remember correctly. My husband got deployed on the U.S. Mercy. So the only ship he's ever been on was for the Mercy to get to LA to help treat patients in LA that had no health insurance that may need surgeries or COVID treatment. So that was an interesting deployment for him. So I lost all my childcare. All the on-base childcare shut down. I had to quit my graduate student worker job at the county of San Diego, which is what I was hoping to get employment after my student worker. And then I had to do my thesis by myself with a small child while my husband was deployed. After I did finally graduate, I applied for so many epidemiology jobs, but I had no postgraduate experience. So I went back to becoming an online assistant. It was a very humbling experience, but at the time, I had to do something, work from home. I could have gotten the CHES certification, which is the certification of public health educator, and I can still go back and get that. But really the only jobs that I saw, even in San Diego, of all places where it's such a huge area for public health, really it was public health educators, but the health educators, even for the city of San Antonio here, I mean, you're lucky if they pay $20 an hour. So for me, I ended up working for a small pharmaceutical company who needed a Salesforce administrator. So I taught myself how to use Salesforce. I don't know how I did that, but I did. And then she let me go because the company was financially going under. I had no warning. And then I reinvented myself again, like we military spouses and veterans do. And now I'm a counselor, and I should have gone this route from square one. But the benefit of this struggle is that I've been working with, I have clients right now, 140 to 150 clients that I work with right now. I don't know how I do that either. And they can range anywhere from 18 years of age to, I think the oldest client I have is in their 70s. And everyone's trying to get work right now. And it's a nightmare. I have parents telling 20-year-olds, you have a bachelor's degree in computer science, why can't you get a job? And I'm having to have conversations with predominantly people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s explaining the job market right now, and that these college graduates were lied to. And yes, they have a degree, but no one told them, these universities aren't telling them, you need experience before you graduate, or no one will talk to you, especially computer science. I have so many like students right now, and I'm like, even if you go get your master's degree, no one will hire you because you have no experience. So it's this horrible, vicious cycle right now, on top of the economy being so expensive. And these 20-year-olds are struggling so bad right now. I really feel for them. And all of my clients have disabilities. They're either mobility disabilities, mental health disabilities, neurological, rare diseases, you name it, I have it all. And I would say probably 40% of my clients are veterans. Most of them have PTSD, military sexual trauma, or ADHD, or just a combination. And I have the rest of another 40% of my clients have autism spectrum disorder. And a lot of them are autism spectrum with ADHD combination. And they're in their 20s and they're male. That's the predominant demographic. And so I see many of the counselors I work with for state right now, we're struggling with parents adapting to their situation with their adult children right now. And then if they're military children, I try to help them find work, because I'm getting a lot here in San Antonio, because it's military USA, as we call it, military city. Sometimes we're lucky and the military children can get like military spouse preference for work. Sometimes, if the employers are open to that, but that doesn't always happen. So I'm always trying to network. I'm always trying to talk to companies, say I have disabled vets, disabled military spouses, like they all can work, but and the children as well, the adult military children, but it's such a competitive market. Texas is very interesting right now, at least in my opinion. So.
Kristen, if it's any consolation, when I was in business school 35 plus years ago, the teacher's question was, what's the first thing you teach a business graduate? And the answer was how to push a broom.
How to push a what?
A broom.
How to push a broom.
Oh my God.
That's long before Rumba was even imagined.
Yeah,
Well, this
I like my
seems,
robot.
I mean, it's a problem, but honestly, I'm thinking from the perspective of running it's a very tiny nonprofit, but it seems to me, thinking about this more broadly, it's an opportunity possibly for nonprofits to be able to get folks who have the technical knowledge to help them do things within their own systems that they need done, and give these students opportunities to get experience.
And I'm always looking for paid internships or unpaid. I tell my students, it doesn't matter if it's paid or not.
Right.
It's experience. It's just finding the internship experience, just getting their foot in the door. And I help write, if you're familiar with the USA Job federal applications, how there's the Schedule A disability letters, and a lot of the agencies will have that disability preference. So I write Schedule A letters all the time, just trying to get their foot in the door, entry level, maybe like a GS 3 or 4 type of position, because we have so many individuals that I guess before my time, my other counselors would say they would just send people with disabilities to disability workshops, and that's what used to happen. And they weren't really members of society. And so we're trying to change how it's always been done and get more individuals, regardless of demographic, into the working force. So that's the goal. I do have a lot of veterans that are 100% permanent and total, trying to work from home. Like they could be on dialysis. I mean, you name it, I have it. And I'm just trying to keep veterans afloat because the benefits, even at 100% permit in total, they're struggling financially right now.
Let's do this. Let's end the share so we can get back to face with people.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Yes,
Of
and we have
course.
about 15 minutes or so left here, and I think your story's been awesome, and hopefully it's prompted some thoughts and questions in others. Please, ask Kristen your questions or share your thoughts.
Dennis, I was going to share that I have a doctorate, and even being 100% DAV PNT, finding a job, I keep getting told the famous words, "You're overqualified," and it's really frustrating. So I tell people, I encourage them, go for the academics, but just remember, and forgive me for being the chaplain that I am, but God qualifies you, not the certifications on the state. But I've been doing this for over 40 years, and I tell people all the time, you know what you're doing. Sometimes we don't know what he's doing, but the truth is, as we do the things we do, just recognize that he's after you and he's not after your certs.
Good point. Good point. Anybody want to share some other words of wisdom?
I just put in the chat just a small paragraph about a new project that I'm soon to start working with a nonprofit, very large nonprofit called Vet Jobs. It's been around for years. It helps veterans find jobs across the spectrum and provides educational opportunities, certification opportunities, matching job opportunities, interviews, the whole thing to connect a veteran with wherever they want to go. And it's really been a very strong, very good group. What they are discovering, and and some of it has been kind of sort of mentioned with the group this afternoon, is that veterans who have retired and they've been out now about 5 years, they're over the 55 age, 55, 60 years of age, they can't find jobs. They're having a real hard time, and they're in that window where they're really not getting enough from retirement to maintain the standards of living that they've been used to. And so they're looking for that additional income before they start pulling in their Social Security and all those kind of things. So it's a new project that we're trying to really ramp up at Vet Jobs. So I'm going to try to help Dan Klopkel, who's the Rear Admiral Navy, and his wife, Debbie, who are the president and CEO of Vet Jobs, to see what we can do to find some sponsors that we can reach out to folks, businesses, major corporations who are looking to hire veterans, but are able to kind of put some funds in there so that we can build this program up, help them find these older veterans who are not overly qualified. I know we've all heard that. I know I have heard it many times, but we're just the kind of person that they need if they'll just take away that kind of predetermined ideas about veterans who bring on board a lot of experience. So look in the chat. If you don't mind, copy it, at least take down the website. And then if you know of anybody, if you've got some business folks out there, connections, etc., have them call me or email me.
May I make 2 points? First of all, Dr. Summer, I suggest you speak with Winston Brown, because sometimes people wait to get Social Security for the higher amount and they lose the benefit of what they're getting, what they could get now, and possibly invest part of it as a result. So you may want to have that conversation, because not everybody should be waiting. That would be number one. Two,
yeah. Yeah, my wife was that example. I told her as soon as she feels like she wants to start pulling it, don't wait until she's 70. And she did.
Right. So that would be number one. Number two, to Kristen, first of all, I sent you a private message. I hope you see it and you didn't fall asleep reading it. But on a serious note, aren't companies receive some kind of tax incentives for, one, hiring veterans, and two, hiring people who are disabled? Okay.
So there are, and
Yeah.
I've got your info or your info down. And I did put my LinkedIn profile in the chat. So if you guys want to add me to get in touch with me, I can also let me give you my work email too. I check that every day. There are incentives. It may be, I know there's federal, but there also may be state. I know Texas is really good about recognizing companies that are great with hiring employees, but specifically individuals with disabilities, because between the ADA laws and all these others. So I'll send you some because there is, especially depending on how large your company is.
Well,
If I remember off the top of my head, if your company is larger than 14 individuals, then it's almost guaranteed where you need to at least start having a competitive employment atmosphere. So there's people with individuals and people without.
Yeah,
my
you're absolutely right. There are tax initiatives, primarily for federal. It's up to the states. That was one of the jobs that I had in the federal government, was talking with businesses and corporations as to why it makes good business sense to hire guardsmen and reservists, especially without waving the flag and eating mom's apple pie. It just, the bottom line is get the CFO in the offices and explain it to them. Then they carry the message to the CEOs and say, "Hey, boss, this is why we need to do this, because look what we're going to make from the company's viewpoint." Just that straight bottom line that they want to know, especially for their shareholders. So yes, there is some major tax breaks and initiatives for hiring veterans.
So I would suggest two things. This relates to what Dr. Sommer just said. One would be to also try to reach out to different human resources of different companies. Number one. Number two, I would suggest you look at a chamber of commerce. Start in your area where you're most comfortable and you can actually meet them if you choose to, as opposed to going to my area in New Jersey. Nothing wrong with New Jersey, don't get me wrong, but if they want to have a face-to-face meeting, Zoom is great, but if you want to have it in person, you have that opportunity. And maybe through the Chamber of Commerce, have you as a speaker on this topic as a text message for companies who are looking for people who are reliable, as well as they benefit financially by hiring them. And that may be a good way to get yourself across. And over time, maybe other chambers, and it could be Zoom or what's it called, Teams, whatever. But the point is that may be your start. And I would think San Antonio might be a more apt area to work with because of the so much of the military in Texas, period.
There's also a company that I'm aware of out of Atlanta that has been helping, I guess, automate this for a long, long time. And what they basically do is they keep track of all of not just the federal, but the state and in some cases local things, so that if they're hiring incentives like for economic empowerment zones or things like that, that they have software that makes it simple and easy for an employer to identify, if not, I mean, certainly veterans, but there are other categories of people too, whether that person would qualify that company for tax incentives and exactly what they are. So I can put you in touch with those folks if that's of interest to you.
Yeah, I have a comment there. And this for both Dr. Gordon and Christian. I took your information. I will reach out to you because we cater to military families, not for jobs, but for opportunities. And for example, last month, for the entire month, the company had a promotion for all military individuals who would like to start their own business, but that just ended. So yeah, we're looking for military individuals who would like to start their own business, on a part-time basis. And we take care of their trainings. We pay for their licenses. All they have to do is be willing to take the exam and to pass the test so they can get their license. And that's throughout the 50 states.
Can you
Nice.
share that with us, Winston, so that those of us that can't get one, we can find a way to get one?
Say again?
Can you share that information to us, either by email or something, so
Yeah.
that someone like me could get that information?
Yeah, I will get the chat and get your information from there.
Being a pastor, I don't get paid much, but I need all the help I can get.
This meeting is recorded, and if you put your contact information into the chat, uh, we'll send a copy of that out to you. So make sure you have an email address you put in there, and then we can get some stuff going. I've several of the people here I've requested their connection today, so please make sure you connect with me. And by the way, I tell everybody, this is a joke. I suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic spousal disorder. Thank God I got a couple laughs on that.
So military people have two PTSDs. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
by the way,
listen, we don't have something to laugh about. We shouldn't even be talking.
Kristen, the other thing I would check also, depending upon the abilities of the people, I'm definitely not that worthy of this one, seriously, is check with the trade schools. Some of them are federally, and they may be able to bring these people in free for training in a certain trade, which allows them to get work as well. And some of the high schools, again, I'm talking about New Jersey, have IT, which IT is different kinds of training. Some of it is IT, but it could be graphic art, but they also have other kinds of training. And again, they may have a night school that where these people can go gratis because they're government veterans, et cetera, or children of veterans for training.
And the
Moshe,
trade,
your words of wisdom,
and
always
the, oh, sorry, go
duly
ahead.
appreciated. I'm sorry.
No, so sorry. I love the trade schools. I actually push my clients that have disabilities that are reinventing themselves if they are young enough and physically able to do trade, just because of the amount of opportunities in Texas. Like you're going to get paid while you go to trade school here for most of them, especially electrician and a couple others. Crane operator, I'm working on with one right now. So I love the trade schools. The biggest thing is I have a lot of clients that, whether they're military affiliated or not, they already got the school and the degrees, and now it's just the getting an internship, whether it's paid or not, and just getting their foot in the door. That's the hardest part. And then just career retention for a lot of these young individuals. The other thing that I didn't kind of tidbit on, and I know we don't have a lot of time. If you guys think of any really good resources, I have one veteran in particular who is service connected, but not service connected enough. And I help individuals do their claims to try to get increases. So I used to work with VSRs, so that I'm very familiar with. But caregivers, I'm running into a lot of caregivers for disabled vets. And if their disabled vets aren't 70% or higher, the VA won't help them with the caregiver program. So there's this void of vets that aren't significant enough by VA, and then they're losing their vision or et cetera, and the caregivers just are hanging on trying to keep everything afloat.
When you say they won't help, that means they won't reimburse? What won't help mean?
So I have one case right now where I'm trying to get the caregiver in the VA program because they have the caregiver program where the VA will pay the caregiver for the care they give to the veteran because they're so significant disability wise. I don't know if that family is going to meet that criteria because his disability is not 70%. Health and Human Services through state, they also have something similar, but I have a very hard time getting people into that program because if they make too much money, the state won't allow them to get paid as a caregiver for the spouse.
Right. I know from I know from my area because I was involved with a group that dealt with seniors. I'm not here to promote myself. And one of the companies that does do home care and had a program with veterans was Visiting Angels. Now, I don't think that was my local I mean, I know my local people have that anyway, but I think that's national with the company. And you may want to speak with them and see what they can do and how they can work with you for your people.
And Chris and I just share that one of the other challenges, especially now that you've spoken that you've got PTSD, one of the things I keep being confronted by with a lot of my personnel is, oh, he's a military or he or she is a military member. Oh, they have PTSD. I know I'm supposed to take them, but that but is what's causing a lot of the anguish. So just be advised, you're not alone in the battle. I hear that all the time. And even being a chaplain, some have said, well, you're a chaplain, you shouldn't have got PTSD. And I just look at them like I get blown up just like everybody else does twice. So life goes on. And you'll see in the paperwork also on the chat, the Navy chaplains were right along with Marines because Marines don't have their own chaplain. So the Navy and I worked with a lot of them both in all services at Kandahar. So
My daughter worked for the VA for a year or 2 years out here in California. She said it was one of the toughest jobs she has ever had. She's got a doctorate in psychology. And the reason for that is the amount of suicides that are committed every single solitary day of veterans. I've read several places, something like 25, 27 veterans a day are committing suicide. So, and it's not just the young people, it's the older people too. People that have gone into retire, and I've mentioned this 100 times. People that have gone into retirement, and then all of a sudden their minds are not active like they were before, and all the suicide thoughts resurface. And that's so it's not just the young people, it's the older people as well that are committing suicide. It's a
Oh,
sad state of affairs.
it really is. It really is.
Before I forget, I know some of you guys were saying you were doing PTSD and research. I want to drop this org in the chat. I did go to the Combat PTSD conference in San Antonio a week or two or a month or two ago. It was amazing, by the way. So if you ever get the chance, do it. But Strong Star, I met a couple of the researchers. They're doing research studies not through the VA, but the DoD and the VA are funding some of it, but as third party researchers. And they're doing a lot of new PTSD treatments that are not just CBT. So if you're interested, I love Strong Star. I think eventually I might go the research route. But I totally agree. And Strong Star had some good trainings if you ever guys want to do the crisis response plan.
I thank you. I thank you all. We
Okay.
are over time here. I just I'm going to advocate for our next week's speaker. I put her link in the chat for LinkedIn. Her name is Monty the Artist. She actually has a story of from essentially a family's perspective on helping a veteran deal with a lot of the problems that we've been talking about. And I'm looking she's told me some details about it. I don't want to spoil the story, but I do encourage you to follow her on LinkedIn and to join us next Friday for her story. Thank you
And you know
all.
what?
I know I have to jump off for some other obligations. I have to go. Bob, if you want to continue on for a while, again, appreciate all of you, and especially for you, Kristen, popping in and saving the day here at the last minute. All right. God
No,
bless
thank
everybody.
you.
Have a great weekend. I got to
By,
run.
Thanks,
by the
Dennis.
way,
You too.
I'm just going to throw this out that in my day, it was dogs and sailors keep off the grass. Now people say thank you for your service. After I've been out of the service 52, 53 years, something like that, I am still not comfortable with people saying thank you for your service. It's such a different world out there now. And the one thing what I'm proud to see is that military veterans are here to support each other. I used to run a veterans group in West LA that I mean, it just overflowed with people coming to the meetings. And that was before all the Zoom stuff. But there's a reason why this country is free. It's because of you. So thank
Mm.
you for your service. And anybody else have any thoughts they want to share?
No, I was going to say, Bob, I think part of the reason why you are in wonderment every time you're complimented, and I know this is not an age shot, I mean that, is because you you served because the draft was around still at the time when you were of age. And a lot of people, I think, don't view it as they gave service, but they didn't do it voluntarily. And I
Mm.
think that may be part of it psychologically as well.
Well, it's interesting. I enlisted in the Navy because they had gotten rid of the college deferment.
Mhm.
So I enlisted, and as a result of that, it was probably one of the best things I ever did. And that's why I love these meetings because we're here to help each other. It's not just people that are actively in the service, it's what happened to you after you
After.
got out of the service that means so much. So, I mean, literally, it could bring tears to my eyes when I think about what you put together as a commitment to yourself. You did it for a reason, and the world's changed, and it will continue to change. And if we're not here to support each other, then shame on us.
Into
So,
that.
Thanks for saying that. My son
Yeah.
just got out in January after 6.5 years, and he had a lot of struggles. So I get it, readjusting back to civilian life. And that's why he got out of the military because he said he didn't like the person it was changing him to be.
Mm.
oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
I'll tell you,
Sharon,
after 20 years, Bob, I went in the military in 1985, got out in 1991, right after the first Gulf War, and I didn't come back in until 2008. And when I came back in, of course, it was a totally different atmosphere. I was Air Force, then I had to go Army. Yeah, I know all the jokes, but I think about it all the time because each one of us, when I got back in the military, and now that I'm back out again, I hear that same statement that you have. But I also remember the scripture that says, give honor to whom honor is due. And you have the honor coming to you. And that is a scriptural mandate. So just be advised. I know it's uncomfortable, but you're given the honor that you deserve
And,
yeah,
and, and earned.
Yeah.
and earned. Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, we certainly very much appreciate that. That, you know, I enlisted in the Navy because otherwise I would have been drafted. And if I hadn't, well, first of all, got older, had kids. I went out and bought cell phones for all my family, and I went to an AT&T store. And on the way out, I just happened by chance, I happened to ask, by the way, do you give veteran discounts? And they said, yes. My phone bill went from something like $450 a month to $250 a month by
Mhm.
having 8 cell phones on that plan. So people just don't know. If you don't ask, you don't get. I carry my DD 214 in my wallet
Mm.
every day. So, and during Veterans Day,
Bob, that's a
um,
great example.
everywhere I went on Veterans Day, and I told them I was a veteran, I got free meals, free meals. So, it's unfortunate that people do not appreciate the veterans the way they should, mainly because of lack of information. And it means so much when when people say thank you for your service,
Mm.
I don't know
Well,
right?
that
get you a VA
I,
card, buddy. You don't
I,
have to have a disability for it. Just get a VA card. That way you don't have to pull your DD-14. You just show them that when I hit 100%, they gave me another ID card like what I used to have when I was active duty. So yeah, I get a little more access, but get you that card.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I just like carrying my DD 214 with me.
You
I,
still do?
I,
I still
Or
have
get the
it
shirt that says DD-214 Club.
hey,
here. Okay.
that'd be a
No,
good,
I'm not-
that would be a good, that would be a good fundraiser for the military. That would be a good fundraiser for the military. It's
what's
just
that?
a shirt that has DD 214 on it. I
Oh my
earned my
God.
DD 214 and sell and make money with it and use it as for some kind of veteran charity.
I'll give you a
They
better
have one
one.
called DD 214 Club.
I'll give you a better one. No one sells women veteran merchandise. It drives us bonkers. Like
Really?
I'm all like they're like, "Oh, did your husband serve?" I'm like, we both served. Yeah, I'm a veteran too. We get that all the time. So us women veterans, we always are like ready to fight because they're like, "Oh, are you just a military stuff?" I served too. And they're like, "Oh." I'm like,
It's so
"Yeah."
weird. It's
Bob,
so weird because um, I lost four of my friends in Vietnam. They were killed. And if you don't have an appreciation for a veteran, period, that's a huge mistake in this country because our freedom is based on how our veterans helped keep us free, right? Isn't that what happened? We have a free country because of the veterans that served in our military.
Bob, I've got to
Yeah.
ask you,
Yeah.
the free meals you're getting to enjoy now, does that make up, at least from what my dad told me, he served in the 50s during Korea, does that make up for the slop that they served in the military?
They still serve the slop. I'm here to
No,
tell
I'm saying
you.
no. I'm saying the free meals he's getting now as a veteran, where people really honor him. Does that make up for the slop he had while he was still in the military?
And
You know,
Kristen,
my
check
dad
out
was in military too.
gruntstyle.com.
Oh, I love Grunt Style. They're like the
Yeah,
only
that's
company I can find so far that
yeah.
does that and Black Rifle Coffee Company. I mean,
Yes, I've
some of
been
their
to the
stuff is,
stores
you
in
know,
Florida. They have
Great.
stores in Florida where my son is now.
And Black
But they
Rifle's
have a
got
lot
great
of,
coffee.
oh, it's wonderful. They actually have a store down there. I went in and got coffee. Fabulous in person. So I bought coffee too, but I buy that now because I know they support military. And that's where I buy all my son shirts and stuff from. I think he has most of them uh,
I'll get
from
the
Grunt Style.
there's a coffee company out there that's also for veterans, and you get paid, and only veterans can sell the coffee
mm,
to others. And
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll get
I'd
that.
love some
I'll
information
have
about that.
I'll have that information next week. I can't do it now in time for this meeting, but I'll have it for next meeting.
And my email's in the chat. I'd love to any information you get that can help my son is great. And my dad, when he served in the army, he was an MP and he was also drafted. So he served his time and then he got out. But I used to hear the stories about being an MP and guarding the brig all the time from my dad. And I had a jacket for years till it fell apart.
Your dad's
With
still alive?
no, he passed away in 2023, unfortunately. Yeah. He was born in 1934, so he goes back a little ways.
my
Oh, see,
grandfather's age.
my
Yeah.
dad was 1919.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But now my dad's father served
1931.
as well, but he passed away even before. Matter of fact, while my dad was in the military, his father passed away of a heart attack.
wow.
And he served. I have one photograph of him in a military uniform where he was in Hawaii, and you can see all the palm trees behind him. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
My dad trained guys for the Normandy invasion,
Okay.
and they were flying gliders that would DC-3s were pulling gliders behind them,
Mhm.
and they landed behind enemy lines in Normandy. And when
Wow.
they stood up, the Germans picked them off, and 80% of his troop was killed the first day. 80%. But they paid the price, the sacrifice that they gave to our country for our freedom. So it's kind of amazing stuff. And I think we undervalue that stuff in general. So thank you for your service. Thank you for all your family's involvement and stuff like that. And we're now 12 minutes over the hour, and I got us to get into some other tasks. So thanks again for showing up.
Thanks, guys. Ladies, have an awesome weekend.
You too. Thank y'all for listening to my story.
It was a great story. Great story. Love
Appreciate
it.
it.
All right. Thanks again, all. Come
Bye.
back.
Blessed, everyone.
I will. I will.
Same link every week.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.